What's up, everyone? Welcome to this day in Philly Sports History for April 8th, 2024. I'm your host, Jim Montgomery. Welcome to a Monday edition. It is Eclipse Day, and where I am in Pennsylvania, we're not going to get a full coverage, I guess, but we're close enough that we should get a decent amount. Kids get out of school today, early dismissal. Even the school I teach at, we're dismissing at 2 today to allow our kids, because since we're a Pennsylvania school, there are some kids in our school that are going to be 100% full coverage of the eclipse. Always cool to see things that don't happen often happen. So looking forward to that. We got our special glasses so the kids can see. I did see it's supposed to be somewhat possibly cloudy, so hopefully that does not impact things too much, but we'll see what happens. And again, if the sound is messed up, I've been having issues with the sound. Comment and let me know if the sound, it looks like it's going to be okay, but you never know. But let's start with a correction from yesterday. As I always say, I try to make sure everything I'm giving you is factual, and this one was just on me. I read my writing the wrong way. Xavier Nadi was the guy that hit the ball that Aaron Rowan caught that crashed in the face. I just could not read my writing. So wanted to make sure that was out there. So Xavier Nadi hit that shot with the bases loaded to Aaron Rowan went head first into face first, I should say, into the Citizens Bank Park fence. So wanted to make sure that was correct. A quick shout out to Philadelphia's Dawn Staley. She led the South Carolina Gamecocks to an undefeated 38-0 national championship. We were definitely into that here in my house. I know my daughter was really into the whole Caitlin Clark story, but then I told her, no, you do not root against Philly, especially in a big game like that. And Dawn really showed well. And I do got to say, she was very classy at the end, which she gave a huge shout out to Caitlin Clark, said she's going to grow the game, which is the truth. Just really, really a proud Philly sports moment to see Dawn Staley not only go undefeated and win her third national championship, which puts her in elite company, actually. They were showing the graphic, like one of 5, I think it was, in college or women's college basketball to win at least 3. But just a class act all the way. Gave a great shout out to, like I said, to Iowa and Caitlin Clark, and wished her the best about growing the game. And Dawn, like I said, to me is one of, I mean, we talked about it in Women's History Month. There was a lot of great women who came out of Philadelphia playing basketball. Unfortunately, just the timing of their age with no WNBA or anything to go to. But Dawn Staley really embraced that, like the Yolanda Laney's of the world, and really took the torch from them and really grew the game. So shout out to her. Congratulations. And again, just a class act the entire time. All right, so from one extreme to the other, let's go with a recap of yesterday's question of the day. I asked you, are the Flyers cooked after their 7 in a row lost, and now they're out of the playoff picture heading into tonight? 100% of you said they're cooked, and it's a really shame because they really worked hard and really overachieved to a certain point, and I think they're just out of gas. I'll still be rooting for them. I'm still all in on this whole playoff push, but it's a shame because, like I said, they're a young team, and as John Tortorella said, I don't want any of this moral victory, and when we have time to step back and look at it, yeah, it's going to be nice that they got the experience of being into a playoff race, but it still stings because they had the opportunity to do something and they just have not been able to do it. But as always, thanks for participating in the question of the day. 267-495-8531 get you in on the Back to the Future voice and text line. There will be another question later in the show. What a weekend for WrestleMania, and again, showcasing the city. I'm very big on making the city because I think Philly gets a bad rep a lot of times. To be honest, some of it is deserved. But when things like this happen and it's just shown in a great light, the weather was way better yesterday for WrestleMania. I was so exhausted, though. I did not get a chance to stay up to watch the final match. I did tell my son anyway that I watched the final 2 matches. He went to bed after the whatever it was, but I guess he had the women's title match and then the main event to watch. And I told him Plus, I got into the Sixers game. More on that in a minute. But just a great weekend for the city of Philadelphia, for the WWE, and it still continues tonight. Usually the Raw after WrestleMania is one of the best. The crowd is going to be rowdy, celebrating not one, not two, but three new I guess technically four new champions yesterday. If you paid attention to it, Drew McIntyre won, got cashed in on by Damian Priest. Then Bayley beat Io Sky, and then, of course, Cody finishing the story. But again, kudos to Philadelphia. Now, if we can just do something about that traffic issue, which is not WrestleMania specific, that's every game I've ever been to. That's why I started to take public transportation. Let's do something about the traffic. But good weekend for WWE and WrestleMania in Philly. Be sure to follow me on my social media, Jimbo_Mott, Twitter and TikTok. At Philly Jimbo on Instagram. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Let's start growing this thing. And the more we get interactions, leave comments, all of those things really just play into the algorithm. So do all of that. And you stay in the loop when things come up. I'm working on some things that once I have time this summer, hopefully I'll do maybe some Twitter spaces, some question and answer sessions, trying to work on ways to do something live. So the best way to stay in the loop is go to the YouTube channel. All right, speaking of those Flyers, they're off tonight, but the Penguins are in Toronto. I think they're in Toronto. They're playing the Maple Leafs either way. So we will be rooting for the Maple Leafs tonight against the Penguins as they try to really sneak in. And the NHL, more so than any other sport, all you need to do is get in and then hope that you get a hot goaltender, and you can go. We saw it with the Flyers in 2010. We talked about them, and that's all you need. So we want to get in. They're right there on the cusp. It's not like they have the work to do that the Sixers do to get that 6th seed. But so let's go Maple Leafs tonight. Speaking of those Sixers, before we get into the game, I think this is funny. They got fined for the way they handled Joe's comeback last week. And I don't even know I don't think they care. And this is the second fine now they've had regarding Joe and his injury status. But they've been fined now on both ends of the spectrum. They were fined for not playing him in a game, like the load management thing where the NBA is trying to do better. And now they got fined for last minute playing him in a game. I don't know. Whatever. I think this was $100,000 too. So it was a pretty hefty fine, but I think in the big picture, they're just like, whatever. But I think it's funny that, like I said, they've gotten fined now on both ends of the spectrum about Joe not playing and then Joe playing. I don't know. But Joe did not play last night. Neither did Tobias or Kyle Lowry. But it did not matter. What a game. Like, I was into this. They forced the overtime. Like, just a great game. Double overtime, 133-126. And again, they were shorthanded. So the fact that the Spurs have been playing better lately, Wembanyama is going to be a beast. I mean, this dude he's just incredible. But Tyrese went toe-to-toe, scored 52, his career high. And this was a solid win considering they were shorthanded. I'm not going to go so far as saying a big win. But at this point in the season, every win they can get is going to be big. But a solid win, especially with three key guys not playing. They were resilient. They battled and kept in this game. And now they are a game behind Indiana and a half a game up on the Heat. And they are back home tomorrow against the Pistons. They have a favorable schedule. They just got to win out. And I think we'll see Joe back tomorrow. Hopefully Tobias and Kyle Lowry. I would love to see like this full team play and see what we have going into the playoffs. But good win for the Sixers. And they are now, if the season ended today, they'd have a home game for the play-in. But I'm telling you, I want to get up into that 6th seed, get a couple more extra days rest, and just, it looks like, I haven't even checked the top end of the standings. I don't know who's in the 3rd seed, but if it's the Bucks and our old pal Doc, I like our chances. Check out my boys over at the Clashing Conferences podcast, wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. They take a look at the NBA in a trash talky type of way. If you check them out for football, it's much the same for the NBA. So go check out the Clashing Conferences wherever you get your podcasts, as well as on YouTube. All right. Phillies update. They lost 3-2, so the winning streak snapped at 2, but they did take 2 of 3 from the Nationals. Sanchez struggled a bit, but the offense really didn't step up to help him out. I mean, the fact that between Sanchez and the bullpen, you only gave up 3 runs and you can only score 2 against the Nats is not good. They're back in action tonight in St. Louis. They're currently 2.5 games back of the Braves after 9 games. Really need to kind of keep that where it is, and maybe you don't want to get too far behind by the end of April. But it's starting to become more and more obvious. I said give him 10, 15 games. We're 9 in. But I don't know. I think Rojas is turning into a liability at the plate. And I don't want to overreact like a lot of people are right now, because the offense did not do much yesterday. But he's hitting .045. And, I mean, it's almost like it's a guaranteed out. Like, it's back to the days, like, when there was a pitcher and you got whatever you could out of the pitcher, but we're not getting much out of him because he can't bunt. So, I don't know what the solution is, but I don't know. I don't think you can go much further than this because, you're 2.5 back. With Spencer Strider might possibly be out for the season. You have a chance to steal the division from the Braves. You can't have a black hole there at their number 9 spot in the lineup. So we'll see what happens over the next week or so, but it's not looking good for old Johan. All right, Eagles news. Not much going on, but I'm going to say it until it happens. Sign Devontae. What are you doing? Just extend his contract, Howie, please. The other thing with the Eagles, though, is it is Eclipse Day, and the last time we had an eclipse here in the Philadelphia area was 2017, and the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Not saying it means anything, but when literally the stars and the universe aligns, like literally aligns, the Eagles seem to win the Super Bowl. So let's make it another one, and then let's hope for an eclipse every year then. But speaking of aligning, go to phillygoat.com. Like, the stars will align. I'm sure it's just a matter of time before an eclipse shirt comes out. But check out what they have. I showed you the shoes last week. These things are phenomenal. Cannot wait now that the weather's going to start getting warmer and nicer to wear them. Got all the shirts matched up to go with them as well. But go check them out, phillygoat.com. Use the promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off of your order. That's phillygoat.com, promo code Jim Montgomery for 10% off your order. They have a ton of Phillies stuff. They have like 3 different pairs of shoes that match the Phillies gear. So go check them out and use the promo code for 10% off. All right, today we're going to go back to 1934. And on this day, 1934, the Phillies beat their I don't even know if they were cross city. I think they played in the same stadium, I think. The Phillies beat their city rival, the Athletics, 8-1 in an exhibition game at Shibe Park in what was the first legal Sunday game played in Philadelphia. The state said Sunday baseball, or Sunday sports for that matter, could be a local decision, starting to overturn some of those old school blue laws. In November of 1933, Philadelphia approved by referendum that sports could be played on Sunday. But this was not the first official Sunday game. It was the first legal. But back in August of 1926, Connie Mack set up the A's versus the White Sox to play on a Sunday, illegally, of course. The Athletics were the hosts of the Sesquicentennial. The 150th anniversary of the country, and they were losing money, so the Expo said, we're going to open up on Sunday and charge money. And Connie Mack's like, whoa, there's no difference between people coming in to be entertained at an Expo than playing baseball. So he fought it. Nothing really ended up happening, but nothing really moved. But it kind of set the ball in motion, so to speak, that the state then started to peel back some of the blue laws. But even today, Pennsylvania still has some of those blue laws where like even the liquor stores and things like that are only opened certain hours. But that referendum in 1933 did pave the way for both the Eagles and the Steelers to be admitted into the NFL and play football on Sunday. But on this day, it was all about baseball. The Phillies beat the A's 8-1 in a Sunday exhibition, the first ever legal Sunday baseball game in the city of Philadelphia, as Pennsylvania started to peel back some of its antiquated blue laws. And even to a certain extent now today, there's still a hint of those. Because basically the blue laws were you didn't want it to interfere with church. Basically, and there was a lot of because of just the founding of Pennsylvania, and there's just like people really hung on to that, a lot of those religious people. Now, I mean, Sunday baseball and football on Sundays, it's like one of the best, to me. Sunday baseball, we had a Sunday package for years, so this today, back in 1934, really opened the door for Sunday baseball and just really sports in general on Sundays. All right, today's top 20 memory for the 20th anniversary of Citizens Bank Park. We're going to go back to 2008 and look at Game 3 of the World Series. This was the first World Series game at Citizens Bank Park. Steve Carlton threw out the first pitch. Taylor Swift, T-Swizzle herself, sang the national anthem. Remember, she had the guitar and that nice World Series jacket on. Tim McGraw, before the game, spread Tug's ashes on the mound, giving them a little bit of good luck. The game started. J-Roll went 2 for 4. Both Utley and Howard homered back-to-back. Chooch hit a home run. Jamie Moore was on the mound for the Phillies, went 6 1/3, gave up 3 runs and 5 strikeouts. The game was tied at 4 going into the bottom of the 9th. Eric Bruntlett, who had come into the game for defensive purposes, was hit by a pitch, took second base on a wild pitch, and then third on a throwing error. And then this is where things got interesting. Joe Madden, the guy that thought outside of the box, gave Shane Victorino and Greg Dobbs, who was pinch hitting for Pedro Feliz, gave them both intentional walks to load the bases so they could set up the force out at home. They pulled the infield in and brought in right fielder Ben Zobrist. So basically they were playing 5 infielders. And they were trying to set up that force at the plate. Chooch comes up, hits a chopper to third. Evan Longoria went to grab it, kind of flipped it to home, but the throw was wide, setting up the 5-4 win for the Phillies. Eric Bruntlett, my brother's all-time favorite player, scored the winning run. And again, I know he hates him, but they don't win the World Series without Eric Bruntlett. Gave the Phillies a 2-1 series lead and set up a memorable Game 4, which we will get into on Friday. That's what we call a tease. But our memory for today is Game 3 of the 2008 World Series, first World Series game ever at Citizens Bank Park. And the Phillies won 5-4 when Chooch hit a chopper to third with the bases loaded. Scoring Eric Bruntlett. Tampa Bay had 5 infielders. It was just a wild scene. And I just remember thinking, like, what is going on? But Phillies took a 2-1 series lead. We all know how 2008 World Series played out. But we'll set up Friday's memory now, setting up Game 4. Sticking with 2008, today's Philly sports team with unfinished business that left a little bit of meat on the bone. And this is where I wish I had some sounders, because I feel like I could have somebody just chewing on a chicken wing. Anyway, today's team is the 2008 Eagles. That team went 9-6-1, snuck into the playoffs as the 6th seed as the wild card, and then went on a nice little run. They were the inspiration behind. They were the team, like in the book, I guess it was the 2006 Eagles, which I believe that was the Jeff Garcia year. This team, though, was the inspiration for the movie adaptation of Silver Linings Playbook. That season, some of the memorable moments were the Cincinnati tie, the infamous game where Donovan McNabb did not know you could tie in the NFL. He was also then benched that next week, and hopefully, I think it was unrelated, but they just got blown out by the Baltimore Ravens, 36-7. And then after that game, they were 5-5-1 and just floundering. And then the Cardinals came to town on Thanksgiving, and the Eagles just beat the crap out of them. I remember didn't even make it into that game because we were just tailgating, hanging out, eating turkey, all that other good stuff. But kind of really lit a fire under the Eagles then. They did enter the final day of the season 8-6-1. They needed some help. They had the Cowboys on the schedule, and both the Cowboys and the Eagles needed the same thing. But they needed the Texans, who were 7-8, to beat the Bears, who were 9-6, looking for a playoff spot, and the Raiders, who were 5-10, to beat the Buccaneers, who were also 9-6 in Tampa Bay. And both of those, like I said, those teams needed it. The Eagles were at 4, and I remember we went into the game late because we were watching, and by some miracle, the Texans and the Raiders both won, and basically it set that game up now, the Eagles-Cowboys, to be winner-take-all, and the Eagles just thumped them. I mean, the crowd was ready to go, 44-6 over the Cowboys, and then they carried that momentum. They beat the Vikings and Giants on the road to go to the NFC Championship game against Arizona. And I don't know what I was thinking. First time that I took my wife to meet my parents, we said, well, yeah, we'll watch the NFC Championship game. And then I immediately regretted it because I'm like, oh my God, like I'm going to be a hot mess for this game. They got down early. Donovan led them back and left the field with the lead. And no matter what anybody will tell me about Donovan McNabb's career, this game was not on Donovan. He had the Eagles with a lead when he left the field. The defense could not stop Kurt Warner and Larry Fitzgerald. And that, to me, was the key to there. You had a lead. And, yeah, everybody says, oh, well, he couldn't lead that game-winning drive late. He shouldn't have had to. The defense got them in a deep, big hole early. And he got them out of it, and then the defense folded again, and I will not go. That's a hill I will definitely die on. That game in 2008 was not Donovan's fault. As we know, we would have set up the first All-PA Super Bowl, and I think the Eagles would have had a shot. Like, they were widely considered. They were an underachieving team. Like, they were a good team. They just did not play well and very much underachieving. And you saw that in the playoffs as they kind of rolled through. Should have beaten the Cardinals. But today's Philly sports team that left some meat on the bone, has some unfinished business, is the 2008 Eagles. Let me know. Was it Donovan's fault or was it the defense? I'm saying it's the defense. But let me know what you think. 267-495-8531 on the Back to the Future voice and text line. Today's Citizens Bank Park memory, Game 3 of the World Series. Chooch hit the chopper to give the Phillies the 5-4 win and take a 2-1 series lead. On this day in 1934, the first ever legal Sunday baseball game took place in Philadelphia. The A's and Phillies. Phillies beat the A's 8-1 at Shibe Park. Let me know if the question of the day, I skipped over this after talking about Johan Rojas. Is it time to move on for him and send him down to the minors? Because at this point, you can't even keep him on the roster as a pinch hitter. Let me know, yes or no. Is it time to move on from Johan Rojas? 267-495-8531. Back to the Future voice and text line. Let me know your thoughts. What's up with Rojas? Should they just cut ties now and let him work through it in the minor leagues? Because something obviously is broken. All right, remember, today is Eclipse Day. Last time there was eclipse, the Eagles won the Super Bowl. Not saying it's correlated, but I'm also not saying it's not correlated. So, I don't know. I'm hanging on to anything I can right now. But sign Smitty. Whatever you're doing, Howie, before the eclipse, go sign Devontae and put this in motion. All right, this has been This Day in Philly Sports History. I'm Jim Montgomery. Go have yourselves a Monday. And until next time, I'll see you when I see you.